circulating the plight of men, and now we are talking women, peace and security. Did you know that we actually have a national action plan to that effect? Well, this morning you're going to find out more about it because we are joined by the Vice President of Our Secure Future, Ms. Sahana Dharmapuri. I am almost there.
That's great.
So Ms. Dharmapuri will give us some insights on Our Secure Future and how they collaborate towards those endeavors, as well as Ms. Sasonel Felix, the Monitoring and Evaluation Specialist for Gender and Child Affairs at the Office of the Prime Minister, and one of the representatives for Gender and Child Affairs on the Technical Committee implementing that National Action Plan. Yes? Good morning, ladies, and welcome to the Now. Let me say, first off, thank you, because the work that you are doing is incredibly necessary. And coming off the heels of the conversation where we understand the significant role that men play in our society, it is important to talk about protection of women and our security so that we can positively contribute to society as well. To that effect, that National Action Plan, how did it come about? What is the agenda of it? And I imagine because there are United Nations ties to it, there is some strategic and pillars that we should be exploring. Perhaps we can start there.
Sure. So this Women, Peace and Security, it's an action plan for women, peace and security that we are launching this morning at the Trinidad Hilton. And we are very grateful for the partnerships not only with the United Nations and Our Secure Future, but also the government of Canada as well. And I would just like to, just give us a story that this thing started over 2 decades ago, actually, where, Trinidad and Tobago, we went to the United Nations General Assembly, of course, led by grassroots initiatives taking place, such as NGOs such as WINAD, but we went to that 67th United Nations General Assembly where we advocated for that women's role in disarmament and non-proliferation of guns and ammunition. And of course, work continued to take form in Trinidad and Tobago, when it was recently in 2023 when Trinidad and Tobago became the first WPS focal point member for the Caribbean region. So we are the only Caribbean focal point region. And following from that, we held a consultation, a national consultation on WPS in 2023, again in partnership with the United Nations, specifically UN Women, and the government of Canada. From that consultation, the recommendations coming out of that consultation was a call for a national action plan on WPS. And we took those recommendations, our minister took it, and we established a WPS advisory group in January of 2024, who was responsible for the development of this WPS NAP, and this is where Our Secure Future came in at the inception of the development of the NAP.
Oh, so 20 years, and we've basically seen a lot of the growth take place 2 years ago, 2024, 2025 coming into here. So when we talk about partnerships, we certainly will talk about our future, but in terms of the UN plans and conflict resolution and peace particularly, WPS frameworks traditionally look at war-torn or actual conflict countries, and we are not per se going through conflict. I understand that there is, and I'm sure we can all identify with gun security and the use of guns being at high numbers here in Trinidad and Tobago. Is that why we're focusing on the WPS framework itself that is applicable to us?
Sure. Do you want to go ahead?
I could start off, but
sure.
I'll let Sahana give that whole global context. Of course, what you speak about is the traditional sense, but Trinidad, we're taking a more global trend approach, like you mentioned, the gun and gang violence that we're affected by. That affects, we may not be in an active state of conflict,
right,
but it's a state of non-peace. So that's the stance that Trinidad has adopted, because gun and gang violence, as well as gender-based violence, affects us all on a daily basis.
Yeah. And, building on what Sasonel said about Trinidad's history with women working on trying to create a more safe and peaceful society, not just for women, but for everyone, right? Their children, men, women, everyone. The Women, Peace, and Security Agenda actually originated in 2000. It was a push by women all over the world, not governments, but civil society women living in conflict zones. But it wasn't exclusively meant to just say, when we're in a conflict, this is where the problem is. Women obviously have a understanding of the spectrum of violence that they might experience in their life, and they know that it's not just happening in a war zone, but they see what's happening in their communities, and they can tell when violence is escalating. So the main point, as Sasonel was saying, is that women come forward because they want to be part of the security decision making. And to your question, that is really the crux of how we make a society more peaceful and safe, is to include women in security and peace decision making.
So if we were to outline, let's say, agenda or key pillars, as I was saying before, of this actual agenda, what are we looking at? Gun violence is one focus, but what else are we focusing on?
So maybe I'll just jump in, and then you can tell more a little bit about Trinidad and Tobago specifically. But the Women, Peace, and Security Agenda has 4 pillars. It's protection, prevention of violence and conflict, participation, making sure that it's participatory process, and we mean women making decisions, but also governments and civil society engaging and having a more trusted relationship and exchanging information and working together. And then it's relief and recovery. How do we work together as a society to address the vulnerabilities that happen after a disaster or climate change event? So in general, those are the pillars that you find in a Women, Peace, and Security plan. The unique thing, I think, and Sasonel, you could say more about the Trinidad-Tobago experience, is that you are really focused on gun and gang violence in a way that no other country has really taken on that issue in their national. It's very unique.
Well, Sasonel, explain a little bit more for us. Well, we know why, but how so?
So, yes, we do focus on gun and gang violence, but we also, like Sahana mentioned, we also recognize, the intersectionalities. So we did make provision for addressing the gender-based violence aspect related to gun and gang violence, as well as the climate change and insecurities for the vulnerabilities. We're also focusing on a whole aspect of research and data on gun and gang violence, so that we would know which NGOs to put into which communities. And we are also addressing the pillar of social cohesion. At the end of it, how do we make Trinidad more peaceful? And the main objectives of our plan is obviously to enhance safety and security. We also want to develop, effective policies that will look at the root causes of gun and gang violence and address that in terms of violence prevention and response strategies, as well as, because it's a Women, Peace, and Security initiative, of course, increasing women's leadership and participation.
Right.
And all of that takes into consideration the 4 pillars of the WPS.
For sure. So we see the global perspective, and then we see how it drills down for us locally. That makes complete sense. But I hear partnership quite a bit. So in terms of the partnership with Our Secure Future, an international entity, we will see more of these, I imagine, or other entities that we can look forward to a partnership with on this launch?
So we're really excited to be part of this in some small way. We're a private family foundation, and we wanted to work with UN Women and the country of Trinidad and Tobago to bring people together on this issue. But I will say, one of the things that Sasonel mentioned earlier that we do in partnership is when we did our first National Action Plan Academy last year here in Trinidad and Tobago, who is the host of that, we were able to bring in a few other countries from the region who also don't have national action plans but are very interested in watching the example of Trinidad and Tobago. So we're able to bring in Jamaica and Barbados and Guyana and CARICOM. everyone is really watching you all lead the way. And as partners, we're behind you, we're supporting, we're stepping in to help provide expertise or help where there's need, but you all are the people doing the work. You know your country, you know what the needs are, and we're standing by to support that. And so that's our mission, really, is we want to just help in a way that we can from behind the scenes and support the efforts that countries are making for peace and security.
Now, granted that we're having this launch, we know that we will hear more about it. There will be proper rollouts and, I imagine, changes as the results come in. But have we seen, or do we have hope for any specific, apart from the broad umbrella of peace and security, not just for women, but in society altogether? Are there smaller changes that we can look out for more immediately, perhaps?
Yes, definitely. So I guess just in the short term, we have already started. So yesterday, and again, thanks to our Secure Future, we've already started the ball going. We had a 2-day workshop on implementation where we try to bring together most of the stakeholders involved in the plan, because sensitization and awareness is important, because how do you be the driver or agent of change when you don't even understand what is WPS or your role in it? How do you see yourself? And in the short term, we really want to focus on those engagements, civil society engagement across ministries, departments, agencies, engagement with the private sector, so that it's this all of a society approach, so that society can buy in and every woman, man, boy and girl can see themselves in this plan. Yes, we're talking women, peace and security, but like Sahana said, it's for all of society.
Well, ladies, let me say thank you very much for doing the work. As I said before, it is a lot. It needs to start, and we're glad that you have done exactly that this morning. So thank you for joining us, and best of luck with your endeavors in the near future.